Let's hop into some in and out squats for the next 30 seconds. Your turn. Working some side steps from a plank position. So very important to sustain that straight line that you'll have from your shoulder to your ankle. So we want to make sure that we're not lifting our bum up for this exercise. And all it is just a step to the right, feet together, back to the middle, step to the left, and just keep alternating between those. Your turn to try it. Forward alternating lunges for this one. So starting with your feet together, we're going to step forward into a nice lengthy lunge with one leg, and then we're going to go back to our base and start from the beginning with the opposite leg. Keep working on this until it's time to stop. Your turn to try it. Let's work some fast feet on the spot for the next 30 seconds. Your turn. Side step wide squats for this exercise. So we're going to drop down into a squat height, and we just want to try and maintain an upright posture as much as we can. And then all we're doing is stepping to the side. Step once to the left, bring your feet together, and then go to the right and bring your feet together as well. You can see my squats are fairly lengthy strides that I'm taking with these. So you guys make sure you do the same thing. need a flat bench and a pair of dumbbells for this next program. Bench squat or bench get up, if you like, for this exercise. So you can see I'm starting with feet parallel, shoulder width, and I'm lifting right up, standing, and dropping back down into that squat, but I'm sitting on the bench as I do it. And then all I'm doing is just lifting straight back up. So it's actually giving you a moment's rest when you're seated on the bench. Your turn to try this one. Front squat with a single dumbbell for this one. So you can see that I'm starting with my feet parallel at shoulder width and my knees are right over the top so they're not caving in or I'm not adding extra width to it. I'm holding the dumbbell right in front of me just underneath my chin and it's staying there. It's staying stationary throughout the whole exercise. As I drop down, I'm going to try and get my elbows to my quadriceps, which basically marks the perfect lower position in my squat, and then I'm going to lift straight back up. Your turn to try this one. Bulgarian Lunge. Now you can do this with or without a dumbbell. So if you're comfortable, hold the dumbbell in front of you. If not, lose your dumbbell. So we want to make sure we're producing a fairly lengthy lunge and your shin bone is remaining vertical for this exercise. Your opposite knee gets really close to the floor and then we're going to lift straight back up. Your turn to try it. side leg raise from a 3 points position for this one. So you just got to make sure that the side leg raise is nice and perpendicular relative to your body. We just want to make sure that our foot is horizontal and our knees nice and straight for this one. Your turn to try it. Okay, dropping down into a wall sit for the next minute. So what we want to do with this one is you're dropping down much like a squat. You want to make sure you've got 90-degree knees and your spine's nice and neutral and you're nice and relaxed. And we're just going to get that squeeze of the quadriceps and glutes for the next minute. Your turn. a legs extension for this exercise. Now, this is one of my favorite bench and floor exercises because if you're doing this one correctly, you're really going to feel it. I'm just starting in a plank position, and it's basically like a traditional plank from the bench, and I'm just allowing my knees to drop down to the floor, and I'm using that legs extension technique to pick me back up and put me back into that plank. Your turn to try it. Elevated glutes bridge for this exercise. So starting on the floor with my heels on top of the bench, and I'm gonna squeeze my glutes and my hamstrings, and I'm gonna apply all my weight onto my heels and lift all the way up. Now you can see I'm hitting a straight line from my shoulder to my knee once I'm elevated. So we've got to make sure we get there. Your turn to try this one. Side squat. So I'm using the bench to support one of my legs when I'm doing the side squat. Now you can do this with or without a dumbbell, it's up to you. But the important thing is make sure you keep your knee out, drop down into that side squat, and we want to make sure that we've got perfect control of that support leg when you do it. Keep your upper body as upright as you can as well. Your turn to try it. Abduction of the legs using the dumbbell for some extra weight for this one. So you can see I'm keeping my knee nice and straight and my foot's horizontal. So this is really important. If your toes are starting to point up, then your hip's not in the right place and you need to make an adjustment there. We'll do this on both sides. So try one side and then turn around and hit the other side as well. Okay, dropping down into a wall sit for the next minute. So what we want to do with this one is you're dropping down much like a squat. You want to make sure you've got 90-degree knees and your spine's nice and neutral and you're nice and relaxed. And we're just going to get that squeeze of the quadriceps and glutes for the next minute. Your turn. Okay, for this one, we're going to start seated on your bench, and we're just going to go straight into a get up with a pistol leg. So the pistol leg doesn't touch the floor throughout this whole set until it's time to change over and go with the other leg. Now, try and keep as composed as you can. We're going to drop down slowly onto that bench and lift straight back up standing. Your turn to try this one. working some stiff leg kickbacks from a 3-point position on the bench for this one. So just make sure your toes are pointing, make sure there's no bend of the knee, and it's just a squeeze of the hamstrings and glutes to create that elevation in the leg. We're going to hit one side and then we're going to turn around and hit the other side as well. Your turn. Working some donkey kicks for this one. Now I'm not using any dumbbells, however I am using my forearms and placing my weight on the bench for the extra support. Now I really just want to focus on those hamstrings and glutes, and you want to make sure that you maintain the same bent angle in your knees. So we don't want to release that. You want to make sure you keep it the whole time. Then you change legs and hit the other side as well. Your turn. With a front hand position, we're going to go into some parallel legs at shoulder width, and we're just going to work some calves raises from here. So just making sure that you're keeping a nice neutral spine, keeping the knees slightly bent to protect your back, and just pushing all the way up as far as the calves raise is concerned, and flattening back down as well. Your turn to try this one.
Well done for finishing your workout, guys. Please take a few minutes to stretch and cool your body down now.
If you enjoyed this workout segment, please assist us by liking and sharing. Remember to subscribe for your daily workout fix.